first to do this. It was Blake Lively, it was Ryan Reynolds, this was their strategy, and now they kind of want to put the genie back in the bottle, but guess what? The genie does not want to go back in the bottle.
Ryan Reynolds completely lost it after getting dragged by Fox News, revealing that he's just as insecure, controlling, and ego-driven as his wife, Blake Lively. Turns out the Reynolds-Lively household may run on sarcasm and maple syrup in public, but behind the scenes, it's just power trips and PR damage control.
He revealed a source that says he had quite an experience demanding his makeup artist show up or get fired. I'll share that story for you.
They called him out, hard, and rightfully so. Because let's be honest, no celebrity, no matter how many gin brands or superhero suits they own, gets to fire someone just because they didn't get their way. This wasn't professionalism. It was a tantrum dressed up as authority.
So gross and weird and manipulative, even if it's true. It's so just, this movie somehow was a magnet for awful people.
Ryan Reynolds, the Hollywood jokester, the Twitter darling, Mr. Deadpool himself, just got absolutely eviscerated. Not so funny now, huh? Behind the snark and smirks is a man obsessed with control, masking insecurity with executive swagger. The charming goofball act? It's just that, an act.
Ryan Reynolds, by all accounts, seems like a great guy. He is acting. By all accounts, he is a total pain in the ass.
And if you think this is hyperbole, allow us to present Exhibit A, the time Reynolds allegedly tried to end a makeup artist's career for the crime of not being available. That's right. Full Hollywood meltdown. Over a rescheduled shoot, over powder. Dictator behavior, but make it moisturized.
One of those guys. So they are absolute bullies.
This explosive revelation surfaced on Fox News' Kennedy Saves the World podcast, where a studio insider recounted Reynolds' unhinged antics during the filming of Deadpool 2. His personal makeup artist was out of the country, working like most freelancers do, when reshoots were suddenly called.
Ryan Reynolds on the Enneagram is a psycho. That's what he is. He's just a psycho. His number is psycho.
Rather than hire literally any other makeup professional from the thousands available in Los Angeles, Reynolds reportedly threatened, "If you don't come back, you'll never work in Hollywood again." Charming, right? Deadpool, but make it career assassination.
Ryan Reynolds had to do some reshoots for the movie. His makeup artist was out of the country working. Ryan Reynolds threatened to fire the makeup artist off the rest of the film and the reshoots they had to do, and also said, if you don't come back and do my makeup for these reshoots, you will never work in Hollywood again.
Excuse us. When did Ryan Reynolds become the president of Hollywood? Who gave him the authority to blacklist someone over a minor scheduling conflict? According to insiders, Fox executives were annoyed, but powerless. Reynolds had already seized full creative control. This wasn't just a tantrum. It was a scorched earth campaign over foundation and eyeliner. And honestly, no one should be shocked. This is exactly how Ryan Reynolds has always operated. All jokes in public, all fire, and fury behind closed doors.
Everyone knew who he was beforehand. Everyone knows who he is now. If he is a smart sociopath, he'll work that to his advantage.
Ryan Reynolds has built his entire brand on being the chill, lovable jokester. But step behind the curtain, and you're dealing with a full-blown Hollywood tyrant. Case in point, the Deadpool franchise. The original film? Directed by Tim Miller, the guy who helped shape the entire vision. But by Deadpool 2, Miller was mysteriously out, and the reason? Ryan wanted full creative control and wasn't interested in sharing the sandbox.
Ryan used his nice pool character in Deadpool and Wolverine to mock Justin Baldoni.
Tim Miller didn't mince words. He later admitted, "Ryan wanted full control and I wasn't willing to fight every single decision." Translation: Reynolds morphed into a tantrum-prone egomaniac who bullied the actual director out of the sequel. This wasn't collaboration, it was a takeover.
Blake Lively, her brand, Ryan Reynolds' brand, have totally been tarnished by this because the world now sees them for who they are. They cannot act their way out of this.
And don't think this behavior stops with directors and makeup artists. Reynolds reportedly targets anyone who challenges him, including his co-stars. Just ask Morena Baccarin, the actress who played his love interest in Deadpool. She went from being the heart of the first film to a footnote in the second. Why? Rumor has it, She had a disagreement with Ryan on set, and let's just say he doesn't take dissent lightly. She was iced out of press junkets, erased from promotional tours, and left out of group photos on red carpets. You'd think she never existed, and it gets worse. TJ Miller, who played Weasel in both films, went public with his own account. Ryan was weirdly mean to me, not as a joke, just genuinely rude. When an actual comedian says it wasn't funny, you know the vibe was off. This isn't a one-off meltdown, it's a pattern. Ryan Reynolds doesn't just want to star in the movie. He wants to control who gets to be part of it and who gets written out.
Deadpool, where he said, let's do one more take. And everyone was like, okay. And I was like, yeah, I'm fine. And then as the character, he was like horrifically mean to me. But to me.
Cathartic.
As if I'm Weasel.
Imagine being so unbearable that even professional comedians say you've gone too far. That's Ryan Reynolds. According to crew members, he treated TJ Miller like garbage on set, mocking him in front of the team, belittling his role, and reminding him, "You're just the sidekick." Nothing says secure leading man like publicly humiliating the comic relief.
So he was like, you know what's great about you, Weasel? You're not the star. But you just, you do just enough exposition that it's funny, and then we can leave and get back to the real movie.
And the control issues? Oh, they're not subtle. They leak out of every project he touches. Just ask Rebecca Ferguson. She once described working with an insecure, angry co-star so awful that she refused to act opposite him. She didn't name names, but the film was Life, 2017. Her co-stars? Ryan Reynolds and Jake Gyllenhaal. And since Jake's out here watering his plants and minding his business, it doesn't take Sherlock Holmes to figure out who the angry little man was.
I did a film with an absolute idiot of a co-star, and this human being was being so insecure and angry because this person couldn't get the scenes out. And I think I was so vulnerable and uncomfortable.
Ferguson was so uncomfortable that she literally asked to perform her scenes facing a tennis ball rather than looking at her co-star. That's not method acting. That's a trauma response. And when she finally spoke up, Hollywood didn't rally behind her. Instead, colleagues started calling her privately, warning that she'd gone too far. Gone too far for saying she didn't want to work with a toxic narcissist? Make it make sense.
I think I was so vulnerable and uncomfortable that I got screamed at. But because this person was number one on a call sheet, there was no safety net for me. So no one had my back.
This is the real Hollywood machine, one that protects the powerful and punishes the truth-tellers. Rebecca didn't leak scandalous secrets. She simply told the truth about a toxic work environment, and somehow she became the problem. Meanwhile, Ryan Reynolds gets to keep storming through sets like a one-man HR nightmare with zero consequences and a grin for the cameras.
But the next day I walked on and I said, "You get off my set." This is the first time I've ever spoken. I remember being so scared. Yes. And I looked at this person and I said, "You can F off. I'm going to work towards a tennis ball. I never want to see you again."
And if you're still on the fence, let's talk about Jake Gyllenhaal. Once Ryan's bestie, red carpet buddy, and viral interview wingman, until suddenly, nothing. No more joint appearances, no friendly banter. And when Jake was recently asked about Ryan, he shut down completely, didn't even fake a smile, just stared down the interviewer and said, "I have nothing to say about him." That's not awkward. That's scorched earth silence from someone who's done being gaslit by a guy who thinks charisma excuses cruelty.
Words for Ryan, seeing as the next time we talk to him, he will be seeing that.
I have nothing to say to him.
And honestly, who can blame Jake? At this point, it's glaringly obvious that Ryan Reynolds isn't the quirky, lovable goofball he plays on screen. He's just another power-obsessed Hollywood narcissist. Zero patience, zero humility, a galaxy-sized ego that no one is allowed to challenge without consequences.
You have an ongoing feud with Ryan.
Who?
You know that guy. What's it gonna take for him to actually be BFFs with you?
Well, I mean, in truth, there was a time in which we were.
From makeup artists to co-stars, directors, even ex-wives, the pattern is impossible to ignore. Anyone who's ever dared speak out has described him the same way. Controlling, insecure, and shockingly rude. Ryan Reynolds isn't the nice guy of Hollywood. He's a self-absorbed, power-drunk bully who's finally being seen for who he is.
Tina encountered a rude celebrity once, and we don't want to say who.
Remember when Ryan Reynolds and Jake Gyllenhaal were Hollywood's favorite bromance? Laughing on every talk show, cracking inside jokes, acting like they were long-lost twins. Then Life, 2017, happened. And suddenly, Gyllenhaal wanted nothing to do with him. Not even a fake smile. Not even a diplomatic shrug. Just radio silence. That kind of fallout doesn't come from a small disagreement. Something real went down.
It's pretty obvious that he's not joking about not being friends with Ryan Reynolds anymore.
When asked about Reynolds recently, Gyllenhaal's face dropped. The energy shifted. He looked straight at the reporter and said flatly, "I have nothing to say about him." That's not awkwardness. That's pure ice. And this is coming from a guy who stayed silent when Taylor Swift dragged him through a 10-minute breakup ballad. But when it comes to Ryan, not even polite Hollywood PR could fake a response. The message was loud and clear. Jake saw through the act, and he's not playing along anymore.
See that Jake Gyllenhaal has also unfollowed Hugh Jackman, Ryan Reynolds, and Blake Lively. But apparently he didn't unfollow them until they had already unfollowed him.
If there's one thing Ryan Reynolds hates more than not being the center of attention, it's being called out for not being funny. Let's be honest. His whole career is built on deadpan delivery and smug sarcasm. But sarcasm isn't a personality, and it definitely isn't comedy. He's not a comedic genius. He's just a guy who smirks after every line and hopes you mistake that for wit. And guess what? More and more people who've worked with him aren't laughing anymore.
I'm really bad at keeping a straight face around TJ Miller. Everyone knows that on our set. We lost days to me. Yeah.
Take it from TJ Miller, a man who actually knows funny. He didn't say Ryan was just a jokester or a goofball. He exposed him for exactly what he is, someone who uses humor to belittle people. Miller said Reynolds didn't crack jokes to lighten the mood. He did it to tear people down. That's not comedy. That's just being a condescending, power-tripping jerk in a Deadpool costume.